Good morning. Nice to see you all this morning. I'm very excited because I'm going to talk about the auction. Are you familiar with the auction? It's coming up on April 20th. And when I think about the auction, it wants to almost make me break into song. But people say when you break into song, you should have the right key, right? So, Ms. Carlson, would you give me a G? That's pretty good. You can look at events that are big and small, and some don't look like events at all. But when you look at, you're bound to fall for the auction. UU auction this year. The auction, you can't beat the auction. You're always right at the auction, the biggest event of the year. Now, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll contact you. You can contact my representative if you want me to join you. The auction, of course, is April 20th, and there are more than 100 events at the auction. Things like jewelry and services and getaways and gift cards. And did I mention raffles? You buy one ticket and be in the mix. You buy several tickets and increase your chances of winning one of the great prizes. Now, I realize the rewards may not be as big as the Powerball, but then the odds are much better. Okay, and did I mention food? Bill Fitzgerald and his culinary crew will be preparing some great food for you. And did I mention music? There are going to be three bands playing. Mark Zucatarak and his Merry Men, OTP, and Room to Roam will be playing for your entertainment. The silent auction begins at 3:30 and runs until 5:45. And it's going to be in the library and in the gallery. Fantastic. The live auction begins at 6 and runs until it's over, and it's being handled by my good friend, Haney Pearson. So, it's the auction, April 20th. Be there or be square.
After the Charlie show, we go along with other announcements. There's a new Unitarian Universalist Church program, a support group for vegans, vegetarians, and those wishing to reduce consumption of meat. Vegan Las Cruces will meet the first and third Thursdays of each month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. here. The first meeting will be this week, this Thursday, April 4th, 7 to 8:30 in the RE Great Room. Contact the great and wonderful David Steele for more information. Dave, stick up a hand. Just a hand. All right. Next Sunday, there'll be a pop-up show in the Tomball Gallery, and it will be from the 7th through the 9th, just a couple of days, because it's a pop-up shows, and they pop up and then they fall down, all right? It will be featuring the great and wonderful Charlie Schultz. Yeah, okay. There is no round table today? Yes? No round table? No. Okay. Peace Village returns this summer. Peace Village started at this church, and it grew and grew, and then it exploded and went someplace. And now it's coming back. It's not quite the Big Bang, but it's something similar. But it relies on volunteers for the camp to succeed. You can get involved by volunteering at the camp, donating, advocating, teaching, or sharing an enrichment activity. For more information, please contact Svea Peterson. Is Svea? Is she here? I'm sorry? believe it or not, that's what I was trying to say. See, I don't know what I actually did say, okay, but it probably wasn't. Okay, contact Miss Peterson or Sandy Barbecue, all right? Okay. We also set up 4 charities for the Change for Change offerings for the coming 12 months, 4 quarters. The selected charities are Dharma Horse Equine Sanctuary, the Mesilla Valley Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Children, also known as CASA, the Cat's Meow, Coats for Kids. And just because they gave us to us in that order does not mean that's going to be the order that they will appear. I just hope that whoever's going to be service associate next week gets to find out which one is going to be first. Thank you very much. Okay. People, no, they don't, because I am a person. Okay. There are going to be some visioning casita meetings. You are the church. We are the church. And if we want to decide which direction the church is going to go, you have to attend these casita meetings and make yourself known, make your wishes known. The board members are going to be hosting a series of these visioning casita meetings to explore any ideas you have for the direction of the church in the coming years. Just choose a meeting that's going to end. They're all going to be in next month, which starts tomorrow. Sarah, and I'm figuring the last name is Thomas, okay, is going to be having sign-up sheets today. And, all right, that's it for the announcements.
My turn.
Yes.
Brown. So anyway, just know that that's happening. I would, before I invite you to stand, those of you who have hymnals, ignore the hymnal. Oh, why is it off? It was turned on. Well, I thought he did anyway. It's not on. It's like my TV. It turns itself on and off whenever it feels like it, apparently. Okay, let me get that back on my belt, and then I won't drop it. It apparently is on now. Yes. Okay. As I was about to say, use the monitor for the words, the tune you're going to know. Shall we surprise them? Stand as you're willing and able.
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast
Now let me officially welcome everyone to the home of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you who are in the sanctuary. Yes. And those joining us via streaming technology. I'm Haney Pearson, just in case you didn't hear anyone else say my name. I'm the service associate today, and our minister is the Reverend Rod Thompson. And later on, we will be joined by Julie Woody, Kevin Fitzgerald, and Ed Long. Our director of music is Catherine Massey, but much of the special music today will be English horn duets by Margot Sorum and David Carlson. Hymns and postlude will be played by Nancy Carlson. Our director of religious education is Kelly Ingram, and assisting us today are Elwin Nunn on camera, Claire Neal Wallace on sound, and Mike Yasko on the internet streaming stuff. Yes. Yeah, oh yeah, all of it. The chalice table is prepared by Diane Lee and Jillian Ling, and our greeters are Kathy Cox, Lucy Silva, and Mark Secontorak. Hospitality is offered today by the Caring Committee and the Moon Shadow Covenant, either that or the Cat Stevens Fan Club. We are all delighted to be with you today. If you're visiting us today, we'd like to meet you. If you're in the sanctuary, please raise a hand or something in body or spirit, and I'll bring you the microphone. Just tell us your name and where you're from.
Arizona.
My niece Barbara from Tucson, and I just want to mention Gary Thornbrew is a 4-year out of a liver transplant with the gracious life of a young 19-year-old.
My name's Eric, and we're from Albuquerque, and
Yeah, I'm Christina,
I'm Thorfinn.
and we go to First U up there.
Any more brave souls? You're visiting today? All right. Okay. After being here for all these years?
I want to introduce my son, Ken. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He's from Las Cruces. My son, Ken, from Las Cruces.
He wasn't a brave soul. All right. I want to thank you all for visiting and joining us today. We would also like for you to fill out a visitor's card. And for our online visitors, drop us an email, and we can let you know of other things that are happening in the church and be in contact with you. Unitarian Universalism has neither creed nor dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our own congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all its forms, and everyone is welcome here. You can learn more about our church through our website, UUCLC. It is important to say UUCLC, because most of the time we just go with UUCLC, but that happens to be a church in Lake County, California. All right. And please join us after the service for coffee and conversation inside or outside the RE building and just down the breezeway. This morning's chalice lighting was written by the Reverend Dillman Baker Sorrells, Minister Emerita, First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester, Minnesota. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, and to be alive in our present.
The opening words are in the form of a prayer of such. I borrowed it from my colleague, I think, Max Coots. We give thanks for the earth and all its creatures. We are grateful from A to Z. For alligators, apricots, acorns, and apple trees. For bumblebees, bananas, blueberries, and beagles. Coconuts, crawdads, cornfields, and coffee. Daisies, elephants, and flying fish. For groundhogs, glaciers, and grasslands. Hippos and hazelnuts, icicles and iguanas. For juniper, jackrabbits, and June bugs. Kudzu and kangaroos. Lightning bugs and licorice. For mountains and milkweed and mistletoe. Narwhals and nasturtiums. I didn't pronounce it right, but you understand what I'm saying. For some reason my tongue won't do it. Back to the O's. Otters and ocelots, peonies and persimmons and polar bears, quahogs and Queen Anne's lace, for raspberries and roses, salmon and sassafras, tomatoes and tulip wood, urchins and valleys and waterfalls, yaks and yams and yogurt. We are grateful, good earth, the least of all, for zinnias, zucchini, and zebras, and for the alphabet of wonderful things that are as simple as ABC. Welcome to this celebration of life. I invite you now to stand as you are willing and able and say together our covenant, and then join us in singing the doxology in English and in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. Christ of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To go together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to spread knowledge in unity, to end all souls go into harmony with creation. Thus we govern with one another.
Let peace, goodwill on earth
Wait for Kelly.
Good morning, church. Happy Easter. Today's story is titled Grandmother's Lesson. Once upon a time, there lived siblings named Lee and Sam. They were Jewish, and Passover was their favorite holiday because there was so much to do. The day before the Seder, they would help sweep the house clean of all the bread crumbs, help set the table with special Passover dishes, and put an extra chair and cup for Elijah the prophet. Then on the evening of Passover, the relatives would arrive, and Seder would begin just after sunset. One year, they came to a place near the end of the cedar where the father poured wine into Elijah the prophet's goblet and asked the children to go and open the door for him. This was one of their favorite parts because it was so mysterious. They ran to the door and looked up and down the street. They didn't see anyone except the new children next door. They had moved all the way from Haiti, and they were playing in their yard. No Elijah. Lee came back to the table feeling sad.
Where is Elijah?
They said.
Every year we pour him wine and open the door, but he never comes. What does he look like? Will he ever come for Passover?
Lee's parents looked at grandmother. I have seen him, she said, though I didn't realize it was him at first. Elijah comes in many disguises. I saw him long ago when I was about your age. One cold day before Passover, I was minding my younger brothers and sisters. My mother was resting. There was a knock at the door. I opened the door, and there stood a beggar. He was dressed in rags and had an old sack over his back. I saw that his shoes were full of holes. May I come in and sit by your fire and have some food? He asked. I am so hungry and cold. I knew we were not a wealthy family. My parents worked hard and still had barely enough for a simple meal, let alone a Passover feast. We have nothing extra for you, I said, and I shut the door. I peeked out the window and I saw the beggar walk out to our neighbor's house next door. The neighbors had even less than we did, since their father had passed away. The mother worked very hard, taking in sewing, but she had many mouths to feed. I was sure that she would turn the beggar away, but I saw her open the door and invite him in. The next day, my mother was cooking our Passover meal, and I was setting the table. Suddenly, there came a cry from the kitchen. Our dog had grabbed the chicken from the counter, knocking over the apple raisin pudding my mother was preparing. When my father got home, he found us sitting and crying. There was no money to buy another chicken or to make another dessert to celebrate our Passover. We were still sitting and crying when we heard a knock on the door. It was our poor neighbor. She smiled at us and said, "It seems some misfortune has come to you. I would like to invite you to celebrate Passover at our home this evening. I don't have much, but somehow I was able to make more matzah balls than usual from my flour, and my soup kettle is full." My parents thanked her and promised to bring the foods they had prepared that had not been spoiled. After our neighbor had gone, my mother asked me, "Who was that knocked at the door while I was resting yesterday?" "It was a beggar," I said. "I told him we didn't have enough, and I sent him away." Where did he go? She asked. To the neighbors, I shrugged. My parents looked at each other. Do you know who that beggar was? My father asked. No. That was the prophet Elijah, said my mother. He comes to see if we are helping to make the world a better place by being welcoming and generous. We had a wonderful Passover with our neighbors. We found that when we shared from our kitchen, there was plenty for all. When it came to the part in the cedar where my father poured wine into the cup for Elijah, I asked if I could go and open the door for Elijah. My parents smiled. Grandmother finished the story by saying, I didn't see Elijah again, but ever since then, I try to treat everyone as if they were Elijah, and I find there is always enough. When Grandmother's story was finished, everyone was quiet. Then Sam asked,
What do you mean treat everyone like Elijah, Grandmother?
Grandmother looked at them and asked a question. What was the last kind and welcoming thing you did for someone?
I helped my teacher carry some books when she was tired.
Sam answered.
I invited the new girl at school to play with me and my friends at recess.
Said Lee. And how did it feel?
Good.
Good,
Warm, and happy.
That is how it feels to treat everyone like Elijah, Grandmother said. Then Lee jumped up from the table.
I think Elijah would like us to invite our neighbors to celebrate Passover with us. Can we invite them to our cedar?
Mother and father looked at each other and smiled. The new neighbors weren't Jewish. They had recently moved to the neighborhood. This was exactly the spirit of welcoming that Elijah taught. Yes, go and tell them that if they would like to join for our cedar meal, they will find our door is open. Thank you.
After which we get to sing our Passover hymn, which is what number? It's 104. This one you can use the books for. It's fine. So stand if you're willing and able.
One of the ways we support one another in community is through the sharing of joys, sorrows, and milestones. Even though the NCAA and the NIT tournaments are happening, this is not a time for announcements. If you have a joy, sorrow, or a milestone you'd like to share with this congregation this morning, please raise your hand and I will bring a microphone to you. Just tell us your name and what's in your heart.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and my joy is Ignacio has returned. Many of you met my giant grandson when he lived with us previously, and he's come back to stay with us for quite some time now, so I'm very happy to have him back.
Hi, I'm Jean Gilbert, and my joys, plural, have something to do with numbers. I graduated from high school in 1967. That's why Cat Stevens, I resonated with that. But anyway, so I graduated from the class of 67, and some of you know I reconnected with the guy I dated in high school 57 years ago. He will be here next week to help me celebrate my, I'm going to say it, 75th birthday.
Hi, I'm Ginny Herrick, and I would have said this last week, but we didn't have joys and sorrows, so to speak. So I'm saying it today. Many of you remember Emilio, who was seeking asylum in this country. Well, he got asylum, and he and his son both did. And on Monday, the 18th of March, it was officially taken. They saw a judge, which was a wonderful judge. The past one was horrible, and they were given asylum. And the National Press Club, head of the National Press Club, and two other people, and people from Michigan, where Emilio and Oscar had been living, came. And then the National Press Club, we had a support group, and our whole support group was invited to La Postas in the evening for dinner provided by the National Press Club, and we had a big celebration. So that's a big, big joy.
Anyone else? Oh, okay. Ellen, could you pass this down, please?
Wow, it's tall up here. Morning, my name is Claire Neal Wallace. I have a joy and a milestone of sorts. Last week, on Wednesday, I packed up my things and left from my job at Casa Ford after a little while of displeasure with the management there. And last Sunday, thanks to Steve Hitchka, I was put in touch with a local state house candidate, and I'm now working on the campaign for Dr. John Hill, running social media and doing data analysis. So very excited about that.
I have a joy. I was honestly a little worried that there wouldn't be a lot of people in church for Easter Sunday. And it's so nice to see everyone. This is great.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Daves, and I'm going to have aortic valve enhancement surgery on the 16th of next month.
Hello, I'm David Brown, and if I make it through to tomorrow, and indications are good, I will be another year older. 68.
Hi, I'm Melinda. I'm delighted to have discovered this church. It seems to fit everything I believe in, so thank you. Thank you, everyone. The other joy is that my son Leo, who lives in Chicago, has been coming back here very often to stay with me for periods of time. And last week we mourned the loss of my husband of exactly 2 years ago. And it was a joy that he was with me, and always a joy. He works remotely, so he can work all over the world on his laptop. Bless him, Leo.
Oh, all right.
I just want to acknowledge that today is Transgender Day of Visibility, and I honor this congregation who has welcomed a number of transgender people into our congregation.
Have to bring a bit of sadness. I come from a very large family on both sides. I only have 2 siblings, but my father was the oldest of a dozen children, and of course I am the oldest child. I have first cousins I really don't really know. One I was particularly close to, and I'm going to use his nickname, was Humpty. And I told my kids stories about Uncle Arnold and his son Humpty, but I told them real young, and they couldn't relate, okay, to someone they didn't actually know. But Humpty passed. Humpty passed, and that was a bit of sadness for me. This meditation is from the Reverend Jennifer Jo Von Roo, the settled minister at May Memorial UU Society in Syracuse, New York. Our hearts are stretched thin. We see and hear the devaluing of people of color, of those with disabilities, of women, of immigrants. This list, incomplete as it is exhausting. However thin our resilience may be wearing, we do not give up or give in. We will not rest until we are heard. We will not rest until equity is made more real. Make them hear you.
Telemann is said to be the most prolific composer of all time. Well, he did some very innovative things too, and not very easy to do. He wrote some canons, which I call echo music. One piece of music, one line, played by 2 people at a different time, and it still sounds okay, I hope.
Thanks, Dave.
Each year at this time, we are reminded of the 3 spring myths that are so much a part of our culture. The story of the Exodus, the ancient Greek rite of spring, and the empty tomb of Christianity. In our reading this morning, the stories of the 3 myths will be intertwined, even interwoven for dramatic effect. Julie will read the story of the Exodus. Kevin will read the story of the Greek myth of spring, and Ed will read the story of the empty tomb.
The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, I will pass through the land of Egypt, and I will kill all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, all the oldest sons and the firstborn male animals.
Persephone was beautiful. Hades desired her for his queen in the underworld. He went to Zeus with his request. Zeus knew Demeter, Persephone's mother, would never consent, and told Hades that if he wanted Persephone for his queen, he would have to abduct her.
When the 6th hour had come, there was a darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. Then Jesus cried with a loud voice, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?"
One day, while Persephone was gathering flowers, the earth suddenly ripped open before her. Hades emerged, seizing Persephone, and brought her to his underworld kingdom.
My God, why hast thou forsaken me?" Some bystanders thought Jesus was calling Elijah. One ran and, filling a sponge full of vinegar, put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down."
Demeter rushed to her daughter's cry, but could find no trace of Persephone. Distraught, she put on her blue coat, took 2 torches, and set out to search for her daughter.
Take some blood of the lamb and put it on the doorposts of your house. The blood shall be a sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall fall upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
Demeter roamed the earth for 9 days and 9 nights without eating or drinking or sleeping.
The people of Israel went and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did.
Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last.
At midnight, the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, all of the firstborn of the cattle.
Demeter learned of Persephone's fate from Helios, the sun god. She became furious.
He breathed his last.
All the firstborn.
The earth opened up.
When evening came, Joseph of Arimathea took courage and went to Pilate to ask for the body of Jesus. When Pilate learned that Jesus was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. Joseph wrapped him in a linen shroud and laid him in a tomb, which was hewn out of a rock, and he rolled a stone against the door.
Demeter abandoned Mount Olympus and moved to the land of the mortals. She told Zeus the earth would be barren until Persephone was returned.
And the Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where one was not dead.
Soon vast famines overtook the earth. Zeus pleaded with Demeter, but she would not relent. Demeter promised to persevere until all humans were dead, and lacking sacrifices, the gods would die also.
My God, why hast thou forsaken me?"
All the firstborn.
Vast famine.
He breathed his last.
Zeus consulted the fates, who decided that Persephone could return, if she had not eaten anything while in the underworld.
When the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might anoint him. Very early on the first day of the week, they went to the tomb when the sun had risen.
And the Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron by night and said, "Rise up and go forth from among my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds and be gone."
Persephone and her mother had a joyous reunion. But then it was discovered that Persephone had tasted the food of the dead and would have to return to Hades.
They looked up and saw that the very large stone had been rolled back. Entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were amazed.
That night, 600,000 people fled Egypt, all on foot.
He said, "Do not be amazed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen and is not here. Go tell his disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him."
They compromised. Persephone would spend 6 months above ground in the world of the sun and stars, and 6 months in the underworld as Hades' queen.
The time that the people of Israel dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And at the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt.
They went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had come upon them. They said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid.
It was a night of watching by the Lord to bring them out of the land of Egypt.
As Persephone descends into the underworld, the fields wither. Orchards and gardens grow barren. Winter sets in.
But he has risen.
And 600,000 fled Egypt.
When Persephone ascends, as she walks in the sunlight through the fields, they are transformed into vital bloom behind her. Spring has arrived.
He has risen.
600,000 left Egypt.
He appeared first to Mary Magdalene. Afterwards, he appeared to the 11, and he said, "Go out and preach to the whole creation."
Spring has arrived.
600,000 left Egypt.
He has risen.
So this same night is a night of watching, kept to the Lord by all the people of Israel throughout their generations. Joyous Passover.
Happy Easter.
Spring is here.
Well, we've had a spring song. We've had a Passover song. Now it's time for an Easter song. And I have to admit that it wouldn't be Easter without us, or at least I, singing this song, because it's what I grew up with. So, stand as you are willing and able, and we will sing our Easter song, number 268, if you have a hymnal.
Jesus Christ is risen today.
I think you used the words of that song. In addition to those three spring myths that are so much a part of our culture, I think there's another one, a fourth myth. Well, at least it's a myth in Cleveland. Baseball. In fact, there is an annual story around the Cleveland area that says, we're not selling beer anymore. We lost the opener. That's a Charlie, I think. Hey. It is. You hear it. Anyway, one of my favorite baseball stories is about three umpires who were discussing how they do their jobs, especially behind the plate, calling balls and strikes. The first umpire says, some of them are balls, some of them are strikes, but I calls them as I sees them. The second umpire said, some of them are balls and some of them are strikes, but I calls them as they are. The third umpire says some of them are balls and some of them are strikes, but they ain't nothing till I calls them. I think there's a sermon in that, or at least a homily, because it's a parable about life. Each of these umpires tells us something about our relationship with the truth. Consider the first umpire. He says, I calls them as I sees them. Arguments erupt on the baseball field when the player or the manager doesn't see the pitch the way the umpire did. Things are seen differently from different perspectives. Whether it's a decision at home plate or much more important choices in life. What shall my career be? Shall I change careers? Where can I find the next job? Whom shall I marry? When should I retire or re-retire? That's kind of an inside thing. No one else can see life exactly as we do. A lot of our decisions are lonely ones because, like the baseball umpire, we stand all by ourselves when the ball comes past the plate. And we have to call it as we see it. Then consider the second umpire in our story who calls them as they are. This ump is confident, and what he sees is the truth. Though umpires have been known to make mistakes, there is, in spite of that, there is an objective truth. Whether the umpire sees it or not, the baseball is either inside the strike zone or outside the strike zone. The umpire's job is to report that truth accurately and without bias. But the third umpire, he's my favorite, or she. I wish I could be more like that. He really is in charge of the situation, and he knows it. Some of them are balls, some of them are strikes, but they ain't nothing till I calls them. Here's a man or woman who creates truth by his words. There are times when something comes into being because we said so. For example, when people marry, they create something new through the words of their vows. When we create truth or meaning or relationships, we are sharing in a creative activity. The parable of the umpires teaches us to never be afraid to call life as we see it. For no one else can see it exactly as we see it. No one else can discover our objective truth. No one else can make our truth happen. And no one else can use our creative abilities to the full to express our love for life and for our neighbors. The story of the resurrection at Easter, the story of the Exodus as the Hebrew slaves gain their freedom from Egyptian bondage, the return of Persephone from the underworld, whether literally true or not, do point to a profound truth about life. That truth is that even at the darkest times of the human spirit, they are followed by the renewal of life. Spring returns and brings us that message. Just as there is loneliness and cruelty, hate, selfishness, fear, suffering in our world, and sometimes in our lives, so there are values and principles that cannot be destroyed. They may appear to be dead, but they rise again. The power of love to redeem human suffering and misery, to overcome fear and selfishness, to reach into the grave beyond and beyond, does not die. Beauty, truth, love, justice, and courage live and inspire others and redeem our spirits when they are lived by us in our community. Some things never die, like love. That's what I'm reminded of at this time of the year. Some things never die, like love. Easter, spring, Passover, proclaim it. So, happy Easter, joyous Passover, spring is here, and yes, play ball! Join me. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never get back. Let's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. And the kids are just looking at us like we're mad. I think you're up next. Please.
All right. This is our church. We are it. We also know that you need funding to do what we do. So give generously, and remember that this is the last day of the quarter. The last Sunday you can donate for the Change for Change recipient Casa de Peregrinos. You can put change into the basket or write a check for change on the note line and just drop it in.
Special thanks to the Carlson family. My closing words come in two parts today. All I need to know about life I learned from the Easter Bunny. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Walk softly and carry a big carrot. Everyone needs a friend who is all ears. All work and no play make you a basket case. Everyone is entitled to a bad HARE, hair day. Let happy thoughts multiply like rabbits. Keep your paws off other people's jelly beans. The grass is always greener in someone else's basket. An Easter bonnet can tame the wildest hare. To show your true colors, you have to come out of your shell. The best things in life are still sweet and gooey. Part 2. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like jelly beans and chocolate rabbits, may this season's special delight always bring you joy. Like the bunny's hidden presence in the springtime grass, may surprises and unseen givers ever lead you to give thanks. Like creeping newborns from children's eggs and opening flowers dewy fresh, may the miracles of life fill you with awe forevermore. So be it. Blessed be, and amen. I'll do the snuffing and you can do the reading.
All right. Please join me in saying the words to extinguish the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are